Today is our 14th session of chapter 4 data structure. So in the previous session we have studied about the applications of stack and how to convert from infix to prefix as well as postfix expression. In today's session we are going to study about queues. So what is a queue? A queue is an ordered collection of items where insertion of elements and deletion of elements always takes place at different ends is called as queue. A queue is an ordered collection of items where insertion of an item and deletion of an item takes place at different ends. At different ends is called as a queue. So consider a queue is a linear array. So these are the index. So it contains some elements called 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So insertion of an element takes place at the end of the queue called rear, and deletion of an element in a queue takes place at the front end called as front. So here front is a pointer which contains the location of the element to be deleted, and rear is a pointer which contains the location of the item to be added. So this is about a queue. So the difference between the stack and queue is in the removal of an item. So in a stack we are going to insert and delete an item at a common end, but in a queue we are going to insert an element and delete an element at different endpoints called front and rear respectively. So this is a major difference between stacks and queues. So now let's see what are all the operations we can perform on queue. Operations on queue. So the first operation is we are creating a empty queue. For that we require queue function. So this function is going to create an empty queue. It does not require any parameter and returns an empty queue. It creates a new queue that is empty, and it does not require any parameters, no parameters, and returns an empty queue. Second one is enqueue operation. Enqueue function. Enqueue function is nothing but inserting an item, inserting or adding an item into the queue. It requires a parameter called item. It requires a parameter. And returns nothing. This operation is called as push operation. This operation is called as push operation. Next type of operation is DQ operation. DQ function. So it is nothing but deleting or removal of an item from the front end of the queue. Deleting or removing of an item from the queue. It does not require any parameter here. It does not require any parameter. So after deleting an item, it alters the queue. And returns the item. So this operation is called as pop operation. This operation is called as pop operation. Next type of operation is empty function. So it is used to check whether the queue is empty or not. It does not require any parameter and it returns Boolean value. Used to check the queue is empty. It does not need any parameter and returns Boolean value. And last type of operation is size function. It is used to return the number of items present in the queue. And it does not require any parameter, but it will return an integer. It returns the number of items in the queue. It does not require any parameter and returns an integer value. So these are all the list of operations what we can perform on queue. The first operation is queue operation. It is used to create a new queue, that is an empty queue, and it does not require any parameters and does not return any value, but it returns an empty queue. The second operation is enqueue function. So this is used to insert or add an item into the queue. It requires a parameter called item and it returns nothing. This operation is usually called as push operation. Adding an item into the queue is called as push operation. When it comes to DQ function, deleting or removing an item from the queue is called as DQ function. It does not require any parameter, but it will return the item. After deleting an item, it modifies the queue. The fourth operation is empty function. It is used to check the queue is empty or not. It does not require any parameter and it returns a Boolean value if the queue is empty or not. Next, fifth operation is size function. It is used to return the number of items present in the queue. It does not require any parameter and returns an integer value. A real-time example for queue is, ಈಗ ನೀವು ಫೀಸ್ ಕಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಕಾಲೇಜಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತೀರಾ. ಕಾಲೇಜಿಗೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಫೀಸ್ ಕಟ್ಟೋ ಸೆಕ್ಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಯೂ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಹೌದಾ? ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಇದು ಅಡ್ಮಿಷನ್ ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಒಬ್ಬ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಬಂದು ನಿಂತಿರ್ತಾನೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ, ಹಾಗೆ ನಿಂತಿರ್ತೀರ, ಹೌದಾ? ಸೊ ಹೆಂಗೆ ನಾವು ಫೀಸ್ ಕಟ್ಟಿಸ್ಕೋತೀವಿ, ಒಬ್ಬರಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಒಬ್ಬರ ಹತ್ರ ಫೀಸ್ ಕಟ್ಟಿಸ್ಕೋತೀವಿ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಸೊ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಯಾರು ಹೋಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ನಾವು ಫೀಸ್ ಕಟ್ಟಿಸ್ಕೋತೀವಿ. ಅದು ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿರೋರು ಅಥವಾ ಲಾಸ್ಟಲ್ಲಿರೋರ ಹತ್ರ ಕಟ್ಟಿಸ್ಕೋತೀವಾ? ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ಸರ್ಷನ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾಗ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಒಬ್ಬೊಬ್ಬರೇ ಬಂದು ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ನಿಂತ್ಕೋತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಎಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕ್ಯೂ. ಸೊ ಎಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕ್ಯೂಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಪರ್ಸನ್ಸು ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಇನ್ಸರ್ಷನ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ರೇರ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್. ಸೊ ಡಿಲೀಷನ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾಗ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಈಗ ಇವಂದು ಅಡ್ಮಿಷನ್ ಫೀಸ್ ಕಟ್ಟಾಯಿತು, ಸೊ ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾರೆ, ಇವರು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಇದೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಡಿಲೀಷನ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್. ಸೊ ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ದ ಫ್ರಂಟ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್, ಫ್ರಂಟ್ ಎಂಡ್. So this is how it works. So this is actually what is the concept of queue. So this queue follows FIFO, that is first in first out technique. It follows first in first out technique. So here see that the first person who comes first is going to be deleted first. So that is the concept of FIFO, that is first in first out. So what is a queue? A queue is a collection of items where insertion and deletion of an item takes place at different ends. So in queue we can perform different operations, that is queue function, NQ, DQ is empty, as well as size operations we can perform. And queue follows FIFO technique, that is first in first out technique. So now let's see the different types of queues. So the different types of queues are simple queue, priority queue, circular queue and double-ended queue. The different types of queues. The first one is simple queue. Simple queue. So what is simple queue? A simple queue is a queue where insertion of an item takes place at the end of the queue, called as rear. It is the rear point, where the deletion of the item takes place at the front end is called as simple queue, where insertion of an item takes place at the end of the queue and deletion of an element takes place at the front of the queue, called as front. So here front is equal to 0, rear is equal to is equal to 4. So if I want to add some items into the queue, then we have to increment the rear pointer. That is, rear is equal to rear plus 1. So if I want to add an item into the queue, we have to increment the rear pointer. So at the rear point, we are going to insert an item. So this is about simple queue. Next type of queue is circular queue. Circular queue. So it looks same as simple queue, but a circular queue is a queue in which all nodes are treated as circular in such that the last node follows the first node to form a circle. So this is about circular queue. And third type of queue is priority queue. Priority queue. So what is priority? The meaning of the word priority ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? So priority queue. So it works based on some priorities. So ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕೋ ಅದನ್ನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಹೈಯೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಯಾರಿಟಿ ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಈಗ ನಾವು ಪ್ರಯಾರಿಟಿ ಕ್ಯೂನಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಯಲ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದಾದರೆ, ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ಸ್ ಬರೀಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಕೆಲವೊಬ್ರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಫಸ್ಟು 1 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ನ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, 2 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ನ, ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಪ್ಯಾಟ್ರನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಪೇಪರಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಗೆ ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವೊಬ್ರು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಯಾರಿಟಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಬರಿತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, 5 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ನ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ 3 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ನ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ 2 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ನ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, 1 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ನ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ 5 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ಗೆ it consumes a lot of time while writing ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ಫಸ್ಟೇ ನಾನು ಏನಾದರೂ 1 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ 2 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಟೈಮ್ ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ರೆ 5 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ನಾನು ಟೈಮ್ ಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾದರೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಮುಗ್ದೋದ್ರೆ 5 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಐ ಮೇ ಲೂಸ್ ಸಮ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಟು ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್, ವಾಟ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಡೂ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ರೈಟ್ 5 ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ಸ್, ದೆನ್ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ 3 mark questions, then I will go for 2 marks as well as 1 mark questions. So this is how this priority queue also work. So based on some preset priorities, it is going to perform the operations. Next type of queue is double-ended queue. Double-ended queue. So this is a queue where insertion and deletion of an item takes place at both the ends. Where insertion and deletion of an item takes place at both the ends is called as double-ended queue. So these are all the 4 types of queues. Thank you.